Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Browne in Memphis, Brendan Martin in Ocala, Florida.
Sometimes I reuse my Starbucks coffee cup the next day with real coffee, but I just still use the cup.
Yeah, and they're kind of cool. I like the ones that have the queen on there, or whatever that is. That look cool. Hey, we got a lot to talk about today. Let's go down over that lineup. What we're going to cover today. Dave Bartoo is going to join us, College Football Matrix, when he can. He's got some issues he's working through on the files, but he's going to launch his all-new top 25 pick'em poll, kind of as a counter to Vegas, and how these polls are coming out. And we talked about it yesterday. It'll get you out of your comfort zone, I can tell you that. Frank Duffy and Doug Dean will join us here in just a minute. We're also going to talk matchups along with these polls and rankings, why some teams are stuck on the past and others are moving on. You cannot run your program today on yesterday's model. Everything has changed. Do us a favor. Take a picture with your cellular phone of the QR code. We are live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Guys like Maury Gaston and Max Howell, I know they watch on Facebook. Others on YouTube. Others, a lot. Everybody, a lot on Twitter. Brendan's putting out reels throughout the day. So follow us, and we love your comments in the chat room. We'll do everything we can in our power to answer your questions. So let's get started. Yeah, everything. Hour of power. Hour of power.
From Bagel One.
Yeah.
In the back of his really awesome RV, we have the Frank Duffy, AKA, you always got a different
Mr. LSU Tiger. But he's in Bengal One
he's
today.
Bengal One.
Yeah. Well, you got to love Frank.
President.
Frank, a great Irish Catholic, grew up in New Orleans. Man, your uncle was a cop down there in New Orleans. I love New Orleans. The greatest food city in the world. But Baton Rouge is pretty close. Doug Dean will be on here with us in just a minute. Dave Bartoo, as soon as he works through the issues. But I'm going to tell you, matchups, Frank. We'll start with you. You are there on the scene. Florida comes to town. Their offense last week could not get out of the driveway. Lost to South Florida. Give South Florida credit. LSU's offense has not been explosive, but the defense has been locked down tight. They've been exceptional. Take it from here.
Well, our defense is absolutely back to being an LSU-style defense. To your point, our offense has been sluggish. We did enough to beat Clemson in a tough place, so you got to give us credit for that.
Yeah.
The kid that caught the touchdown, Trey'Dez Green, is hurt. He got hurt in the game against Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
Our starting center also got hurt. He went down on the very first play from scrimmage. So the offense has some work to do. And look, I'm not totally sure that Nussmeier is not totally over that injury, his foot issue, his ankle issue during one of the practices. He went down. Tiger Nation held their breath. It was said to be okay. So it looks like his plant foot's still bothering him a little.
Yeah.
Again, that's not an excuse. He should have ripped Louisiana Tech far better than he did. Look, the opener for the SEC in Tiger Stadium, the vaunted Gators coming. And look, anytime you think the Gators are not going to have a team, they show up and it's a battle royale. This is a wonderful, I go back to the old saying, the cross-conference rival. LSU and Florida have been playing since the SEC started. And I think we're tied. I think we're like 37-37 with each other. So it is a very, very hotly contested game. Look, it's going to come down to our defense against DJ Lagway.
Yeah.
And it depends on how he plays. And if he plays like he did those last 5 games last year, we're going to have a problem. If he plays like he played against South Florida, I think we beat Florida by a couple touchdowns. I think Florida coming in has a lot to prove. Billy Napier is on the hottest of hot seats compared to Kelly. His seat's on fire. Kelly's has now gotten lukewarm with the win over Clemson. But look, whoever comes out of this game with the loss, man, they are in they're in a scramble mode, and especially if it's Florida with 2 losses. So I think it's going to be a great game. I think the defense is going to tell the tale. I think it's going to be a fairly low-scoring game, which has not always been the case when Florida and LSU meet. going back to the Spurrier track meets and, the shoot throwing game and everything. A lot of our games are high scoring, but I think it's going to be a tightly, combated match. I can see maybe a touchdown difference between the two because it normally comes down to that.
Well, what I'm looking for is somebody. We talked about this a lot this week with Florida. There's no leader on that team. There's no alpha. You've got to have when you walk in the locker room, you, by God, better know who your quarterback is. You got a bunch of betas, you're toast. And you go to LSU, it seems like somebody's going to have a breakout offensive game tomorrow night. That's what I think's happened.
I'm expecting Chris Hilton at some point in time with his speed is going to go crazy. But look, Browne has really impressed me, getting him in the transfer portal. But look, this is Nussmeier's team. You're a fifth-year starting quarterback. You're the Heisman favorite. Now, he's gone from 8-1 to 9-1 with last week's performance. But I think a 250 to 275 yard game against Florida with a couple of touchdowns puts him right back in as the Heisman front runner. I do think that he is the heart and soul of this team. I think the players have bought in around him. I think he owns the locker room. On defense, Harold Perkins and Whit Weeks. They're kind of the two leaders on the defensive side of the ball. And we've got a lot of young players. I mean, we have great depth for the first time in a long time on defense, but they're taking their marching orders from Harold Perkins Jr. and Whit Weeks, and they're flying around the ball. They had another great game against Louisiana. Again, Louisiana Tech gave up a last, couple minute touchdown to make it a little bit better cosmetics for Louisiana Tech. But that's where it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to LSU's defense against DJ Lagway, and do they contain him? Do they contain their lanes and not let him out to get mobile? Because when he's very accurate, going out of the pocket with the ball. But we'll see.
No, but I was going to say, Harold Perkins, back for his fourth year, he doesn't complain. He doesn't bitch and whine. Yeah. That is a HCI, high character individual. NFL teams are going to love him because he makes that body around him better.
Well, Rob, he's back in the right position.
Yes.
He wasn't that way in the last 2 years. They were futzing around with him like a science project. And it's like, look, knuckleheads, put him out on the edge, let him go after the quarterback, see ball, get ball, which is why we beat Clemson. Look, that last play against Clemson was all Harold Perkins Jr. and his athletic ability to close that gap on Klubnik. Klubnik was out of the pocket. He would have time. Perkins Jr. closed that gap in a matter of seconds. So you just have to free him up and let him, roam in the backfield. Yeah. But everybody else has to contain, because if Lagway escapes that first rush and gets out, then you got problems. But look, Blake Baker is going to blitz him from here to Sunday. Yeah. He's gonna send everybody but the kitchen sink. We saw how effective that was against Klubnik. I think DJ Lagway is good because look, he's really still a freshman. I mean, with the considering he started, what was it, second, the third game, but he started playing and getting his confidence in the last part of the season. So he's about at his 7th or 8th game. So I think you're going to see Blake Baker send the house like he normally does. And we'll see where it goes.
Before I go to Doug, I want to say, LSU's defense the last couple of years, to borrow a great line from my friend Johnny Haygood from Eufaula, Alabama, they're more bucked up than a Tupperware drawer. But now it's been organized. Audrey got in the kitchen. Doug, now look, over your right shoulder, there's a story, but we'll get to that. Left, right.
Right.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Your right shoulder. Dave Bartoo is going to join us. He's working through a file issue. Gremlin's got him, but he'll join us. Doug, that was one of the coolest interviews with Al Borges. Golly. I mean, Siri cannot say his name right, by the way. Al Borges.
Gorgeous Al Borges. He became gorgeous after 2004, if you know what I mean, Duff.
Yeah. But that interview with him,
Oh,
He
he's
is
he's not only
sharp.
genius, but he's so entertaining.
He needs to be coaching. He needs to.
And I am going to liberally. That's a wrong word. I'm going to generously incorporate some of Al's observations about RPO and the great line, Duff. You'll hear Bartoo comment on it. He said, RPO, I've seen it be intoxicating to play callers because you can always blame it on the quarterback if the play goes badly.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, Duff, and I promise, Brenden, we got nothing but love for our producer. But by definition, Duff, LSU and Auburn are among the chosen for whom more than half of America is not 2-0 anymore by definition.
That's true. And look, what's the old saying, Doug? Survive and advance.
Yeah.
That is so very true. And look, now that we're going into SEC play, the old saying with LSU, when we would lose those early games, look, it doesn't hurt us. We can actually win the conference. We can get to Atlanta.
It kind of hurts.
Yeah, it does hurt. Let me tell you, it absolutely hurts. You're digging from a hole.
You lose your mulligan, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. And so I think Auburn going out and beating Baylor, us going to Clemson and beating Clemson, I think that was a big boost for both of our programs. I know you guys have a kind of a tune up this week, but look, be careful of USA because
nothing for granted.
Yeah, they played Tulane, I think it was really well. In fact, Tulane I think only won by 2 points, and Tulane's a good football team this year. So, you guys are giving it like 26 or 27.
Yeah,
so
the line it's been from 24.5 to maybe 26 some services. When you see that compared to what was it 45 against maybe the worst team in college football, Ball State. Prayers lifted for David Letterman and his team.
Yeah, y'all could have set the number on that one last week, but I think USA, they're not a patsy.
I don't like that game, and they're and then I always wanted to like Major Applewhite because is there a better quarterback name than Major Applewhite? And man, his bio, he's coached everywhere, including Alabama. I don't want to be unfair to Applewhite, but because the next game I coach will be my first. But I wouldn't say he's distinguished himself with a lot of championships, but he's been in some big time programs, so you got to take him seriously with this South Alabama team, and that's why since Bear Bryant dropped, maybe before Coach Bryant, Alabama refused. I can't say I blame them strategically. I still don't like it, but they refuse to play the in-state schools because it's all downside and no upside if they give you a tough game.
Well, but why should you be scared of losing? You should only think about winning. Doug, I see what you're saying, but that politically, like, why should we play anybody?
Help in state. I mean, isn't there when you got tax dollars funding Alabama and Auburn, the two flagship universities? My point of view, and I'm not trying to besmirch a proud university like U of A at all. I just disagree. I think that there's so much. It's such a struggle for our second tier universities in terms of enrollment and funding to make a go of it and keep athletics vibrant, that we can help them by not scheduling Ball State in these programs, schedule the in-state schools.
Correct.
Well, I think there's a fine formula here. Listen what I'm about to say. So look, LSU is playing Louisiana Tech and Southeast Louisiana, our second and third out of conference games. Yes, I believe in helping your state schools. I believe that really does assist them, but I also would not play Tulane every year.
You're asking for it.
I'm not losing a payday to go to Ullman, which a wonderful stadium. I'm so glad they got out of the dome, but 37,000 every other year doesn't help LSU at all. And Tulane can be dangerous enough to where Southeast Louisiana's and the McNeese's and even Louisiana Tech, though they're a much better program, they're not gonna jump up and really take a bite out of you. Tulane could. Tulane is a D1 program that actually could. So I think I think the porridge has to be just right. You can do in-state, but not help that in-state school that all my Tulane buddies, I want to get the rivalry back. And I remember the rivalry very well. I could tell you every LSU Tulane game going back to when I was born. You remember those rivalry games. Yeah. But there is absolutely no benefit by putting the weenies back on the schedule.
The problem is when you
got to get on with the agenda. Yeah.
Okay, when you're scheduling if you're Auburn or Alabama, UAB or South Alabama, Troy's dangerous. Man, I don't know that I want to play Troy. I'm contradicting myself, but you don't know in 4 or 5 years if they're going to be mediocre or great.
When you schedule.
Well, you don't. We got on the topics today, and Dave Bartoo joined us. This is really going to be cool. This top 25, kind of a pick'em poll, the bettors poll, as a counter, because Doug, you and Frank have sent some great information out about some of these lobotomy patients that vote on the AP poll, living brain donors. I mean, it's really sad. All right,
it's not just that poor girl that's getting skewered either.
Yeah, and it's the guy that votes number 1 Vanderbilt every year. I mean, I don't know who he is, but we talked about matchups yesterday. Matchups are big. They're but they're even how you match up on game day is everything. So going down the list, we did this yesterday. Alabama, Wisconsin, and we'll bounce it like 30, 40 second, responses. Wisconsin is not very good. They're not. Last year it was a close game in the first half. Their quarterback's banged up. Luke Fickell, third or fourth year there. I'm thinking Alabama wins. It'll be tough early, but I think Alabama pulls away. Frank, what happens?
I like Alabama. Alabama was my big bet last week. I thought they were going to bounce back and roll, and they did. That game was never in question. That was a casher.
Assault and battery.
It was, and I kind of had a feeling. Look, any time that anybody's down talking Alabama, you better pull up your hosiery because they're going to be coming in and they're going to be playing well. I think they beat Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin, like to your point, Rob, is a name team from what you've seen over the last 7 to 8 years. I think they're a shell of themselves right now. I think Alabama rolls in this.
I do too. Doug B. Dean.
Yeah, Doug B. Dean. Eagle 5 thinks that Alabama's not completely
Breaker 1-9.
Not completely well of all of their issues, because it just stretches one's imagination to see that many issues in the Florida State opener. FSU had a lot to do with that. And I was looking back at that. Everything went the Seminoles' way. Even, was it just me, when that rainstorm came, I think even that discombobulated, kind of alarmed Alabama, because, man, when you're behind double digits and all of a sudden there's rain, you're going to lose. And you start thinking, oh, we're going to lose. And I'm not in the heads of these players, but I think Alabama's maybe 70% well, but their challenge is, like all of us, look at your schedule. Is this Alabama team well enough to go into Athens and perform? Maybe. I mean, they got the players. And so the question is not, is Alabama going to go 3-9, which was absurd the minute somebody uttered it. The question is, does this Alabama DeBoer team, DeBoer 2.0, do they have 9 or 10 wins in them? Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's why we play the games.
Yeah, and I've got them playing Georgia in Atlanta, and I've got Georgia winning. And the reason I picked Georgia is because I think they play a full 60 more aggressively, more violently than anybody else in the conference. Some teams, for lack of a better term, have been emasculated. They're too soft.
Yeah, I think Bama comes out 2-2, and this ain't going to be the one they lose.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I agree. It might be interesting for a half. I respect Wisconsin's coach, but they just won't have the speed and strength to hang with this Alabama team. Duff, I was going to tell you, the two opening games, your guys and ours, there was more than just saving that mulligan, because none of us are going undefeated in the SEC, I don't think.
No.
And Texas has already cashed that in. But I think also in the case of LSU, confidence to the head coach, Brian. Not that Brian Kelly shouldn't be confident anyway, but can you imagine the media throngs of just and LSU fans second guessing, and just all the talk would be negative toward Kelly. And in Auburn's case, Jackson Arnold, the confidence coming out of that's worth a lot in winning those games.
By the second or third game, you're who you are. it's hard to change. Zebras don't change their stripes, just their watering holes. Just remember that when it comes to early on. All right, let's move down because we got a lot to cover. The hour of power. Yes, sir. Hour of power. Robert Schuler. Brenden calls hour of power. All right. Arkansas travels to Ole Miss, guys.
Ooh.
And I mean, the
Taylor
Hogs,
Green, can he do it?
Yeah, and Austin Simmons has thrown 2 picks in his first 2 games, all in the first quarter. If I'm Arkansas, man, I'd get in there and do the Tupperware drawer treatment with him in the first quarter, Frank.
I agree. And look, Ole Miss, I watched that game against Kentucky. Kentucky was actually manhandling them until Ole Miss came back and took over that game. Look, but I think Arkansas is going to have too much to go on the road and do that. I think Ole Miss wins this. I think they cover. Lane has just got a lot of talent. That kid's just going to need some time to mature. He's got. I mean, when I saw one of his drives, he's got athletic talent for days. Yeah. So I think they just have to kind of settle in. I do think Ole Miss wins this ball game. But Arkansas, I don't know if Pittman makes it. I don't know. I don't know where Arkansas goes from here. Arkansas is kind of like in purgatory. They're like they can't go to heaven and they're not bad enough to be in hell. It's just they're in this middle strata, and I think it's gonna be tough for them to this early to go on and spring up an upset on the road.
What's the number, Duff?
I think it was like, did I see it right? About 8, something along those lines, maybe 10. Memory serves, somewhere in that range. I'll tell you in a second.
I got it. I'm pulling up.
All right. Well, Doug, just as you see it, Ellis Johnson sat on the show Monday. He said with Dave, he and Pete Cordelli on with Dave Bartoo. He goes, I wouldn't be surprised if Arkansas goes on the road and gets a win. Taylor Green is in the second year in the Bobby Petrino
6.5
system.
Duff.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, between 6 and 8. It was right around that touchdown.
Well, I ran like a scalded dog from that -8.5 Ole Miss last week. I was like, that's a sucker bet, because as poor as Kentucky's offense was against Toledo, I'm like, somebody knows something, and they do. That's why you never could answer the phone in the press box with Vinny from Exit 98 in Piscataway, New Jersey. Hey, how you doing, huh?
But I got a winner for you.
Yeah,
I'm giving this side of the country one side of this game, and I'm giving the other side of the country. That way, I know I'm making money for somebody.
Hey, it's only doing this for family. They treat you like family. Yeah, you treat your family like crap, guy.
I think that Kentucky road game, the 2 picks thrown by Simmons, and just I think the expectation game was that Ole Miss would roll Kentucky. Kentucky's gotten all kinds of bad press, some deservedly. But I think that's deflating this line in Oxford tomorrow.
I think so.
And I'm with you, Duff. I think that I would potentially make not that I'm into the bookmaking nonsense, but
we are.
I would make Ole Miss one of my best plays.
Yeah.
Laying that 6.5, because Kiffin, he takes a minute to get his quarterback calibrated. But I know that kid's got the talent, and I don't know. I just think I have a lot of respect for Kiffin. Tomorrow's one that I think they run away with in the second half.
Taylor Green, Bobby Petrino, from the man from Montana. Arkansas with Taylor Green is going to be fun.
They'll beat some people they're not supposed to.
Yeah, you're right. All right, moving down the list, we talked about Auburn, South Alabama, Florida, LSU. We talked about that. All right. Big one around here, man. My wife, the Vols, Mark, Jeff Boone, they're all up there. Massive tailgate. We've already heard there's been a serious fight between Uga and Smokey. He said, "You play Rocky Top one more time." All right, Frank, what happens on the Hill?
Man, I'm going Tennessee. I know it's not the chic pick.
Wow.
Okay. I'm going Tennessee. You're going to hear Rocky Top a few times. Look, Georgia just doesn't have that Georgia feel to me anymore. They're a little sense of incivility. I think they'll beat Alabama. I will have them against Alabama. But I think Tennessee's going to get the points. Again, I'm mainly talking gambling. I'm not talking straight up. But
of course,
I think Tennessee getting those points, I think that's a dangerous amount of points to give. And it would not shock me if they win this thing straight up.
It's kind of Go ahead, Rob.
No, it's just say y'all remember the last time Tennessee beat Georgia was 2016. Jacob Eason hurled the Hail Mary, 10 seconds left. Josh Dobbs hits Jawan Jennings. Remember, in 2001, when Michael Haynes called, we just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot. We broke their nose. You know what Georgia fans refer to that pass in 2016 from Josh? The Dobbs nail boot.
Wow.
Let me make the case for both.
Yes.
The Vols. I don't have a horse in that race. Actually, I might a little bit. I think if you're an Auburn Tiger, strategically, emotionally, you really want Georgia to have to come to Jordan-Hare at night undefeated, because Kirby can handle that. He eats pressure for breakfast.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure every 19-year-old feels that way under the bright lights. So I kind of selfishly, I'd like Georgia to stay undefeated. My case for Georgia winning this one, not overly original, is Kirby smart. I would really fear Kirby going into a game when everybody's talking him down, just like Duff just did. And you're not wrong, Frank. We have all seen stronger Georgia teams. When they got Brock Bowers, it made Carson Beck really look like a Heisman winner. And he's a great quarterback, but a lot of quarterbacks would look great with somebody like that to go to. So Kirby can challenge his guys that this is a manhood game. We're not going to throw the ball that much. You're going to line up and prove that you're man enough to smash it down their throat, keep their offense off the field. My case for Tennessee is Neyland Stadium and the fact that the best thing, I really respect Heupel at hitting explosive plays like he did Alabama in 22 down there. I think that Tennessee, the best thing that happened to Tennessee was Nico thinking he was worth more money than the valuation actually supports, because this new kid, I think they've got the quarterback that's ideal for them.
And Tennessee's confidence is even bolstered by Nico going out and laying an egg on the West Coast. Yeah. They're loving this. They're feeling they're ahead. It's like playing with casino money.
Yeah. All right. Question to y'all both is, before we go to the next game, is Joey Aguilar the steal of the offseason in the quarterback deal? Because John Mateer at Oklahoma.
If they win tomorrow. Yeah. I don't think Mateer was a steal.
I'm saying that was kind of for him. Yeah, they did. Exactly. I just think Aguilar, if you looked at what people said, the turnovers, he didn't elevate the talent around him at App State in the 2 years he was there, but he didn't have great talent like he has at Tennessee.
For the last 5 years, Tennessee has laid in wait for a big game and pulled it off. And you see that orange all over the stadium. I'm telling you, I got a feeling Big Orange. You're going to hear Rocky Top, the Vol Navy. This is a huge game for them. And look, Georgia has had their number. I think they break through. And look, because I like Gunnar Stockton, but I don't think he's the type of accurate passer that you need to do to get those Tennessee linebackers off that line of scrimmage. They just don't have that passing game. So, I think Georgia will run the hell out of the ball. But you know what? If you're running into the teeth of 7 or 8 guys on that line and that crowd behind them,
it's going to be tough.
Interesting thing, too. Georgia hadn't had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2019. Okay?
That's right.
But the 2 receivers they brought in, last year they dropped 37 passes. That's the most of any team, I think. Jordan Davis-Hill, 24/7 Sports, Georgia talks about it. Doug, you've got Noah Thomas from A&M, Zachariah Branch from Southern Cal. Zachariah Branch could be one of the best receivers around. He's so good, yards after contact. Is that enough? I mean, you can throw for 400 yards and lose a game. If you run for 400, you ain't losing.
Yeah, you can win a game.
Yeah. What's going to be, Rob mentioned it in relation to Gunnar Stockton, in relation to Aguilar. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Aguilar.
At Tennessee. Jackson Arnold, how good is he? Taylon Green, Kiffin's QB. This is becoming, the next couple of weeks, separation September. And, I get it that in a sense it's always that way, but there's an abnormal number, if you ask me, of big games that will tell us that which quarterbacks, not just teams, but which quarterbacks are really the difference maker this year. And I kind of like the fact that Arnold at Auburn is being left out. But Al Borges on the show a couple of days ago said the film he studied of the kid, he said he really looks like he's a perfect fit for Freeze's RPO system. What I see, Borges said, is he knows when to get in what RPO, and he does it with enough speed that it's tough on a defense.
And he passed the ball well against Baylor. I thought he passed
Mateer and Arnold in a week from tomorrow is one to keep an eye on. There's going to be some separation there.
But that's why Auburn can't look ahead.
No,
that
absolutely
worries me about South Alabama with Auburn looking ahead because, I agree.
Do I ever get a break on a Saturday, Duff? We got to stress out every damn Saturday when you're an Auburn fan.
I tell you what, I'm in awe of Rob being able to go to that Auburn Oklahoma game, and again, I don't want to be guilty of looking ahead too, but Rob, I think that's going to be an outstanding trip for you, a road trip to go to Norman. I think that's going to be an electric atmosphere. I especially after the way that game played last year, Auburn had that game and let it get away. And I guarantee you, Freeze had when y'all get to next week, I think Freeze is going to have that Auburn team just laser focused on that ball game.
Need to get in the running back room. We've had some issues there.
Yeah, Darrell Robinson. You talked about him before anybody else did, Doug. Number 21. Now, as a kid, I had 2 football jerseys that I played running back in as a kid. Number 20, Joe Cribbs, Sullivan, Alabama. Number 21, James Brooks, Warner Robins, Georgia. That's the best 21.
I love that
some
number.
Good ones. I just love that number. You're right. He got to get him healthy. But also, Doug, you talked about in the dose this week, and great point about Jackson Arnold. There are a lot of people that are just reluctant to say, this guy's good. I'm going to say it. He is a badass. I think he's a tough kid. He doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. He just wants to prove to people, I was the number 4 quarterback in the country, the number 10 player overall coming out of high school. I went to Oklahoma. I love the place. Didn't work out. He is in, I agree, a perfect spot.
I respectfully disagree. I think he's got a huge chip on his shoulder, and I think that's going to fuel this kid. I'm telling you, the reason I liked Auburn to be a surprise team in the SEC was the chip on this kid's shoulder. And you know where it's going to really come out? In Norman. He's going to do everything
without him talking about that, Frank.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think this kid's got a lot to prove. So I respectfully disagree on that. I think he's got a fire in him, or at least that's what I saw in the Baylor game. I think the kid's got great talent.
Well, when I hear the term chip, a lot of times I think about a whiny, sniveling brat. I don't think he's. But I think he's got an inner fire to go.
No doubt.
Look, we got Chris Plank. Plank Show. He's the sideline reporter on the Oklahoma Football Network. We bring him on the show. We've had Barry Trammell. We had Brenden Drum last week from OU Insider. Brenden knows Jackson really well. Their sons train together in Dallas with Jeff Christensen, who also trains Patrick Mahomes. I think Jackson Arnold is a true student of the game. All right, next game we got to get to. Dave's working his way to us. A lot of times Dave comes in from elk hunting. Doug, you've got to go elk hunting with this
guy. Is the quant guru of all the country, he and Bill Connolly, and he can't get his computer to work.
I know, the file crashed. It's unbelievable. But let me say this. This is what's so funny. Maury Gaston says Frank Duffy is perhaps the world's most interesting man. So too is Dave Bartoo is right there with you. All right, next game we got to talk about. Looking down this list, and South Carolina Vanderbilt. We talked earlier this week. They're scalping tickets.
Where's it played?
Columbia. And earlier this week, Will Gunner was on. Yeah, dun dun. You should look for Elvis coming out in a white jumpsuit. Hello, everybody. I just want to say hello. Here he is.
Hello.
Hey.
The world.
We got the numbers guy.
What? It's hard to have numbers when your S isn't working, son of a.
Bartoo, he brings the spicy, the Cajun flavor here.
It's fine. Like I tell coaches, what story do you want me to tell with the numbers? I can make it look like anything you want. So
It's like forensic accounting. Okay.
yeah,
Hey,
dude, totally. You want me to
No,
badmouth Auburn?
I
I
got
can
it.
badmouth Auburn and put them in the top 25 in the same sentence, and you'd
Come
believe
on. No, we want Auburn to stay under the radar, Bartoo, as long as possible.
No, actually, I created something new. A bunch of things happened new this week, but everybody's been complaining about the AP top 25, and
Especially Miss
and
Sawyer.
yeah, but it's like, oh, so one vote out of 5,000 writers is going to change jack crap, right? I mean, it's just not even a blip. It's like old man yelling at clouds. And then on top of it, not only does it not affect anything, it doesn't affect anything. The AP Top 25 has no effect on college football. It doesn't affect the playoff committee. It doesn't do any of this stuff. But everybody's complaining about it. So now that I have enough computing power, I actually kind of made something happen that a lot of people have been asking for, because we've heard it a million times. People want odds makers.
Winners.
People want Vegas, the Vegas minds. These are very smart people when it comes down to setting lines, to be ranking teams. And so when you're looking at all the spreads, folks, you're actually looking at a mathematical equation that tells you Georgia -3 on the road, accounting for the road environment. That is a mathematical equation that tells you what the odds maker thinks of Georgia and Tennessee. Yeah. And if you connect all these spreads and have the right mathematical equation, so imagine this huge spider web of spreads. Inside of it, they're telling you their team rankings. So I took all of 2024 and I extracted the odds maker top 25 at the end of the season. Number one team, Ohio State. Number 2, Notre Dame.
Wow.
Number 3 was Texas. And so now, and I can do this every week. I can send this to you guys. I have a odds maker top 25, and it adjusts every half week. So it adjusts when the lines come out, and then it adjusts with the results, and then it'll adjust for next Saturday when the lines come out. So little something that we can play with on the show anytime. And by the way, Auburn checks in today at 24.
There you go.
Beautiful.
Well, I've always said we need to get you the Bartoo 3, which is your 3 top, and we all pray that we go 2 and 1. And but I gotta ask you, Dave. So we all know, all of us gamblers know, that the line that Vegas sets has one purpose. It wants to get even money on both sides, because they want to take the 10% VIG. Have you factored in that it's more a projection of getting money to move in equal portions, or is it more a true gauge of how better one team is over another?
I used to think that way.
Okay.
I used to think exactly
when you were a child.
Right? Yeah, and it made a lot of sense, right? If there's $1 billion bet on the Super Bowl and you're at 50-50, you just guaranteed yourself almost $100 million.
Correct.
That doesn't keep sports books alive. Doesn't work. Okay. And now with AI, what I see may not even be the same number at the same book you see.
Oh yeah, it's all over the place.
Right? Because they can go, oh, Dave Bartoo, man, he loves favorite. He loves Bama. He always bets Bama. Guess what? I pay an extra half point every time.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right. But realistically,
like buying stocks on
but realistically, part of setting the line is, I would say for the most part, the line that you have is what you are saying, right? Let's say 75-80% of the time, they're just trying to be in the middle of it, not lose money, right? Because the game is so tight, there's not much there. But there are certain games where they will try to take advantage of consumer sentiment. Sure. All right. Where they go, okay, where we want to be is 3.5, but we know the public is going to jump on LSU at home over Florida. So we are going to add an extra point in there. And so their goal is, yes, maybe it's 50-50 on a lot of them, but it's also taking advantage of the situation and giving a number that is going to put them in a more profitable situation. As well.
Slightly inflated, yeah.
And let me add to that. I guess it's I'm probably bastardizing it a little bit, so help me, Dave. There is the collective educated guesses of the public and Vegas. It sort of counterbalances, and you get a spread, and that spread moves some, sometimes a lot, even during game week.
Yeah,
so the public is wrong. The conventional wisdom is public is usually wrong, but that's not entirely accurate. Sometimes the public.
No, that is not accurate at all. That is not accurate at all. And it varies by sport. The NFL and college football. So I'll give you an example right now. The NFL. Okay, in the month of September. See, I don't look at the whole season. See, when you're watching TV, they give you all these BS numbers like, oh, if you bet this, 51% win here and 49% win here. Well, yeah, when you look at the whole season, but football teams change, right? The lines change. Odds makers get smarter and sharper. And so, for example, like in the NFL in weeks 1 through 3, here's a great rule of thumb. Inside the number, I call this situational betting. So we start with a big set of numbers, and then we're looking for smaller subsets, right? What'd that team do last week and so forth. But in the NFL right now is big steam, a move of 2 points or more on the spread. If it's against the home team, that's correct. Yeah. You go opposite, right? If it's in favor of the road team, you chase. So your plus EV, your plus ROA is chasing big steam on road teams in the NFL and fading steam on home teams in the NFL, but just in the first 4 weeks. And then when you go to the next 4-week package, 3, 4, 5, 6, it starts changing. And so during the season, there's going to be this oscillation of fans chase something, then they realize they screwed up, and then they go the other way. And Vegas's job, one of them, in my opinion, is always being ahead of the curve. When the fans are going down, the line's coming up. When the line's coming up, so it's situational betting by the sport, and it's not universal, in my opinion.
Dave, and love welcome anybody's opinion on this. There's a point of view that, and I think there's a little to it. The regional bias in the AP poll is one example. And AP polls, it's not a good week for them because their poster child became Miss Sawyer at USC. I don't really want to go into my process, but I look at
she's good looking.
Team's culture. So Callie, but there is a point of view that ESPN and Fox Sports, they're so powerful that it's in their interest for certain big games to have to pit 2 highly ranked teams.
Correct.
And you add to that the helmet logo bias that I think is very real, that all things being equal, we see that Ohio State or Alabama and often deservedly, or other pick your favorite big logos, and that you get an inflation factor in the AP poll that has a lot less to do with actual football and more to do with program reputation. How does the spread vote in the poll that you're talking about clean that up, if you will?
That's what I'm trying to do, right? Is eliminate it and just go, here are the 25 best teams in the eyes of Las Vegas via the spreads right now, right? Because they don't care about the regional bias. They only care about one thing, winning, right? They don't care. Yeah. And now as far as bias goes, if you're talking about the number one enemy, it's got to be ESPN, and understandably so, right? They are the 800-pound gorilla in the room. They have vested interest in a lot of teams, a lot of conferences, and so they are going to try to push that needle. But again, the AP poll doesn't do anything. I have
doesn't it affect perception of teams, Dave?
Now the perception is different, right? We can't argue with emotion, right? Emotional fans are brutal to argue with, right? They hear what they want to hear, they see what they want to hear, they feel what they want to hear, right? Everything that goes in, it's filtered for their entertainment, and they only agree with what people tell them they want to hear.
Sure.
And so I do believe that with the AP poll, it's for entertainment, it's for our discussion, it's for fun, but it doesn't correlate with the college football playoff. That was a big argument again this week. I ran 11 years of week by week data. And one of the things I tracked is which of the two polls was more volatile, because the more volatile one obviously is the one chasing the other one. The AP top 25 is by far more volatile week over week than the college football playoff. So to me, that's one of the barometers that, look, the AP people are chasing what the college football playoff people are putting out. But ultimately, they're all going to look pretty much the same, because where are you going to put these teams? If Oregon's 12-0, what are you going to do? Put them at 17? No, everybody's going to have them number 1 or number 2. So from a perspective standpoint, they look like they correlate, but they don't at all. I just think people take it too damn seriously instead of just having fun with it. And quite frankly, all of us could put the entire MAC in the top 10 right now, and by November, they've all played their way out. It's just a bunch of paranoia.
All right, Dave, Brad Bellamy is going to join us in a minute from Landers Ford, one of our sponsors, and I know he's going to have some questions. I got to ask real quick your thoughts on, we were getting to it right when you came on, and thank you so much for joining us, man. Dave Bartoo, the Lights Out Gummies people, they work. I will attest to it. I slept last night like I was 9 years old with no bills, no mortgage, no nothing. And they work. They're, and you have worked 6 years, and Mike Singletary tried these and told you I slept like a little kid. That was the endorsement you needed to put you over the top, and you're getting there every day.
Like Scooby-Doo and Pop-Tarts were waiting on you in the morning.
That's right.
Actually, I got to tell you, my best endorsement was my wife.
Yeah. See, you can't get better than that.
Right? When my wife goes, "Oh, damn, I just slept 9 hours. I need me some more of those." I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
They work. I've arrived. I'm done, man. I'm done in the lab. We can start selling these things now.
Well, tell us now your thoughts. Yeah. Vandy at South Carolina. They're scalping tickets north of $250. What kind of world are we living in? This is fun. This is great.
It is fun. In South Carolina, I'm really fortunate. South Carolina is one of the first schools I started working with on our new player identification program. So I was down there for a week this summer. And passionate group. But it's, as far as the game goes, okay. There's 3 things that I look at that I feel are more important in college football than anything else. Your recruited high school talent, advantage South Carolina. Your coaching staff, okay, advantage South Carolina. Beamer, in our numbers, ranks well ahead of Clark Lee. Offensive coordinator, I lean towards Vanderbilt. You got 2 great quarterbacks. Defensive coordinator, I leaned highly towards White in this situation, even though Clark has a good track record of being a DC at Notre Dame. And then home field advantage, and this is at South Carolina. So South Carolina to me has the trifecta. Okay, they got the coaching, they got the talent, they got the home field. That team wins 87% of the time. Over the last 10 years, you got all 3 of those things. You got the talent, you got the coaching, you got home field. You shouldn't be losing that football game. So
I'll take Vanderbilt.
Exactly.
How much did the Doors win by?
And are we talking spread? Are we talking spread or just winning the game straight up?
Winning the game straight up. Now we're talking the spread. The big number here. What's it at right now?
Oh,
look at us. So this is what my computer would do for me. Okay, the computer would say this is what this spread opened at. These are the daily reports I put on my Patreon. This is what it opened at. Here's what the line moved to. Here's what that line is worth. Here's what the half point above and a half point below. It tells you historically what the ROI is and the win rate at every single point. I do know SEC conference games, team on the road, key number is that 6.5 to 7.
I got an interesting one. Hang on, Dave. You wanted to speak to this. It opened at 8.5, getting Vandy 8.5. It's now at 3. That is a freaking huge 5.5 point move.
Yeah, and you know what I say to that? I ain't betting jackass on that. No.
Stay away.
Because that kind of a move is an anomaly, right?
It
There's no historical bounds on a 5-point move. That is bat-ass crazy stuff right there. Now
they need more money on Carolina is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like the money obviously poured in big time at 8.5. And what you may have had a big better come in and go, oh man, I'm shoving my chips in on 8.5, right? And so it went from 8.5, and that's one of the things you maybe want to look at is did it go from 8.5 and slowly go down to 5.5, or was it 8.5 and then boom, cliff? Now the other thing to look out for is these are early season games. That 8.5 open might have been from July, so you got to check the date on when it actually opened for big bets, because that summer stuff usually that's capped at like $500 or something like that.
Because the first couple of weeks you can bet those early. They do have the lines on those first 2 or 3 or 4 week games.
All right, let me throw another one in real quick before I hope Brad Bellamy can join us and from Landers Ford, but we got to talk about Notre Dame. They host Texas A&M. Listening to Chuck Oliver and Chuck and Heath yesterday, our friends in Atlanta, and they talked about it. Texas A&M has not won a non-conference road game against the top 10 opponent since 1979. And as Chuck says, that's not nothing. So before we get to that, let's bring in Brad Bellamy from Landers Ford. Tell us what's going on out there, and then we're going to talk on that Notre Dame Texas A&M game. But Brad, thank you so much for checking in. Love Landers. I need to get a sign to put on the background of the set, a red and white sign. If you can get me one, I will pick it up today, tomorrow, or Monday.
Well, a couple of things, Rob. I gave you a red and white hat and haven't seen you wear it yet.
I can't. The dog got it.
I got all this merch you keep asking for. I need to see it.
The puppy got it.
If you're going to ask for it, I know. If you build it, they will come. If it's given, it should be seen, Rob.
And the hat was lost.
So thank you guys. Great to be on with you. I do want to talk about what you were just talking about, the Vandy. I had my hand raised. I was ready to go, and I was just sitting here in the queue. That line hadn't been 8.5 in a long time. It was 3.5 beginning of the week. So I wouldn't overreact to the 5-point drop. Man, Rob, I'm really excited. We talk a lot about vehicle sales, and we're having a good start to the month. But next week, buy 3, get 1 free on tires starting next week to the end of the month. Also, $20 rebate on the Works package. So huge opportunity to get new tires on your vehicle. That also includes meter beat guarantees. So you got a price somewhere else that shows to be a better price than what we got. We can match that price. So huge opportunities in service. The other thing we offer is complimentary pickup and delivery for our neighbors. So, you can call us, say, hey, I need to get new tires in my car and get an oil change. $20 rebate, buy 3, get 1 free on tires. And you don't have to come up here. We'll take care of you. You can enjoy your own coffee, your own time. You can watch Game Day, the Today Show, Sports Center, whatever it is you need to watch, and come up here because they're showing old TV shows in our quick lane. We got the Today Show on right now in ours. But, guys, it's great to be on with you. Also, Expedition Explorer from the golf tournament still got X-Band pricing. As I said last week, finished 4th in the country in Expedition sales. I just came back from Vegas the last few days for a national meeting. We got a whole new campaign that launched last night. If you watched the Thursday night football game, Ready, Set, Forward, all about how we do work in so many different areas, whether it's performance, whether it's commercial, whether it's, we're here to take care of you in any of your needs. So great to be with you guys this morning. South Carolina last year destroyed Vanderbilt in Vandy. After Vandy had been on a run, South Carolina completely shut down Pavia in the offense. It's hard for me to believe that this game was in Vandy, that Vandy would be a favorite. Yeah. With it only being 3.5, that shows to me that Vegas is saying Vandy would on neutral field. It's a flip of a coin.
Yeah.
And I don't see it. Vandy had a huge second half against the Virginia Tech last week, but they were down the whole first half. I don't know if there's been a lot of analysis of how did South Carolina play against Virginia Tech versus Vandy on the road. Vandy beat Virginia Tech last year. I do locks of the week at 4:30 this afternoon on the radio here locally. And
it's the perils of recency
all day long. Yeah. That's one of my 4 locks.
Yeah,
it's the perils of recency.
Oh, Dave, getting back to that Texas A&M at Notre Dame, what happens? We're all waiting to know on that. What do you think happens?
Well, from a betting standpoint, I'm off on everything right now. The total's sitting at 49.5. That's kind of no man's land. The numbers say it needs to get to 51 or better to be betting under on that one, given that opening at 49.5, and it stayed static all week. The spread, it opened at -7 in favor of Notre Dame, and that was a hot number to bet the road team. 7 and 7.5 opening in week 3 in college football has been highly profitable, good ROI, but now it slid down to 6.5 in some places, and by the numbers, that bet is off. So right now, from a betting standpoint, I have nothing on that game. But again, going back to talent, pretty even in favor of Notre Dame, though. Coaching staffs, both pretty good. But I don't really have an opinion on that. I'm going to call that one even, and obviously they're on the home field. So as a favorite, I do like them to win this game. But let me tell you something about buys, folks. This is really important, and this actually goes all the way back to the playoffs, because I was saying in the playoffs, these teams that are coming off of a bye are going to struggle, because here's why. Recency of games being played. Teams coming off a bye in September barely win 500 or barely at 500, 50% of the games. Okay. In October, it bumps to 62%. Coming off a bye in November is nearly 66%. A bye in September is historically horrid for teams.
Yeah.
Horrid for teams. And so with that being said, if I can tease it, if I can even bump it, and get A&M +7, +7.5, I absolutely would bet that. And if you're really looking to sprinkle something, I wouldn't go heavy on it. But given that Notre Dame is coming off of that bye, I'd say it's better than a coin flip, or pretty close to it, that A&M actually pulls off the upset here solely because Notre Dame hasn't played in 2 weeks.
The money line.
David, it suggests maybe that looking at that data, coaches should practice their teams much harder in the bye week.
100%. Absolutely. 100%. Right. Actually, what I tell athletic directors, because I've worked with scheduling a lot, right? And trying to talk them off the ledge on strength of schedule. It's not about scheduling hard. It's about winning all your football games. But one of the rules I always have is avoid the September bye. It is just, I don't know what it is. I think it's more psychological than anything, not getting into that rhythm of practice and game. I agree with you 100% on that. Every bye week should be treated, at least in September, if you have one, that needs to be treated like a game week. Walk it through like a game week. Get that body and that mind.
Yeah.
Pop some
Get
pads.
that mind ready to play.
Especially if you've had momentum as a team. Especially if you're coming in 2-0 or 3-0.
Yeah. It's awful. Right. I mean, Dave, I mean, unfortunately we've run out of time. God, this is good stuff. Folks, Brad Bellamy, one of the best people you'll find, General Manager Landers Ford, right down the street from the great folks at Hewlett and Dunn, was out there this week, 20 boxes a day coming in, Barber, Filson, 7,000 pairs of boots. Dave, order your hunting gear. Everybody, they got it all at Hewlett and Dunn, Rumble Boxing, and those gummies that you've got, wow, do they work. You cannot say enough good things about them, and you want to get a good night's sleep, lights out gummies. Got lots of people I know asking me, going, this guy's really smart. And he also knows his football. I love the stats on the buys. Doug, that's the quote of the show. Push them harder in the off week. Hey, man, we're the greatest country in the history of the world, man. We're the most blessed people there are. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Go out and help people make a difference. And be careful when you're hunting. Dave, we're ready for some elk stories in the future. Frank?
Oh, I am ready to tell them, man. I am ready to smack them bastards.
Come on.
Go Tigers. Right. What's for dinner? Gator.
Go, Have a good weekend, guys. It's going to be fun. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate it. Executive producer Brenden Martin. We're out of here till Monday.